Hey everyone, Genome here, coming at you with another video from the day of pack openings. I probably should have shot this before, but whatever. I'm just going to do a quick rundown. This is almost like a post-mortem of mercs that I find useful and less useful, and I'll also try to mention the ones I think will be most useful for the newer player. So let's just get right into it. I did one of these like 6-7 months ago, but obviously a lot has changed with my roster, and I think I have enough experience with these guys now to give a pretty definitive answer. Alex Rosa, I don't really use anywhere. I'm sure she could be good somewhere in the Dragon comp, but I just really haven't found a place for her. So none of the quest chains have really needed her for anything. So I think she's good. It's just that I don't know, I just can't find a spot for her. Sinestra kind of makes her obsolete, I think, in a lot of ways. Of course, I haven't used Bane. If it says new, it means I haven't worked with these guys at all yet. Karn, I really don't use him anywhere. I know he's good in PvP as like a backline kind of character, but like I don't do PvP really. So PvE, there's not really a place for him. He's good. He's okay like on the nature comp, but he only has one nature spell. Or, one nature ability. So he's just okay. There's worse things to put in the nature comp, but I don't think he's really needed there. So yeah, I don't really use him anywhere. Cariel, I know she's good. I know people like her in like the holy comps and things like that. I really don't use her or Cornelius that much. I do use Cornelius a little more than I use her, mostly for finishing off some of the harder quest lines that have some weird requirements. But yeah, either or. I mean, I really don't use them in APB content, but you can definitely use them in a holy comp. I just don't use holy comp too often. Deathwing, I just started kind of leveling him, maxing him up a little bit. He seems interesting. I don't know how good he's really going to be. And being a legendary dragon, maybe the legendary dragon, he should be a little bit better. But I don't know. Maybe once I start maxing his ability, say I got nothing really into him yet, he might be all right. More on him later. I don't know for sure on him. Garrosh, I really don't use him much in PvE. On an orc comp, he can be good, but usually I don't use him. I tend to use like Rukara, Thrall, and Sourfang as my baseline orc comp. So, you know, as a backline or as a tank, he's not bad. But I just don't find a whole ton of use of him, and you gotta be careful about what you max out on him. But obviously, I don't have enough coins to max everything out, so your mileage might vary a little more, but I just don't find much use for him in PvE content right now. He's like my favorite character in all of Warcraft lore, too, so it's kind of a shame, but it is what it is. Grommash, same thing as Garrosh, but even less so. I just don't really have a use for him anywhere, and I like to. He's like my second favorite character in lore, Warcraft lore, and I really don't use him anywhere, but I know he's really good in PvP just because of the one ability. His Staggering Slam is pretty awesome. I mean, he's not awful in PvE, it's just that, you know, almost everything he does, other characters can do better and safer, right? So, he's given to you for free, though, so he's not terrible, I just don't really use him much. Gruul has more use than you think. For one thing, he's like a stat machine, if you look at him. He's got a pretty good passive that affects the whole party, which is good in some, like Blackrock Mountain and all that. There's a lot of fire stuff. And he murders dragons. Oh my gosh. If you go to, Onyxia's lair or whatever, there's lots of dragons. Yeah, he murders dragons pretty well. But, so he has use. But, like, he's not the world's best plug-and-play character. You don't just throw him on any team. You go in there with a specific plan with Gruul. But what he does very well. But he's not really a cookie-cutter jack of all trades kind of character. He's good in specific instances, but not too useful outside. I love Gruul too in the lore, by the way. So Mukla gets pretty regular use in a beast comp when I use beast comp, which is not too terribly often, but as far as the physical attackers, it's probably my favorite comp. But he's a kind of an integral part of that team. So yeah, he sees some pretty middle of the road play. Not a bad character at all, of course. Kartrus, I don't use him anywhere. You know he's maxed. Don't let that fool you, just because you tend to collect coins on these older characters. Yeah, I don't use him anywhere. Loklar, I know, is a PvP beast, but I do use him when, like, I have, some people might not know this, too, is you can do, if you have a quest in, like, Hearthstone, just a general one, says, you know, cast, like, 50 frost spells, or do 100 damage with frost. If you use Mercs, it also counts towards those achievements, or those quests, so it's a super easy way to finish some of those harder ones if you don't want to play like Frost Mage or Free Shaman, right? So, but yeah, he does have his use in PvE. I don't run them as a general rule unless I have some specific quest to finish. But as far as like Frost characters, he's decent, and I know he's really good in PvP, but I don't really use him outside of specific instances. Draxus, I have no use for anywhere. I can't find a use for him. Maybe in a full demon comp, but they don't seem like cohesive enough to really run. Malfurion is the linchpin of nature comps in particular, and just so many comps in general. He's just an amazing character. Definitely worthy of the legendary tag. I've maxed him. Oh, look, let's max him right now. He deserves to be maxed. You can watch it happen. Because that's one thing his problem is his health is kind of low compared to other characters. There we go. Now let's get his health up there. You bear witness. But yeah, every bit of his kit is so good. Especially the first two abilities. You use them so much. And with the Max Life Root Staff, Nature Comp just rocks. I've done videos on that. They're really great for PvE content, especially the harder stuff. So much sustain. So Malfurion is a great character. Dump resources into him. Use him a lot in PvE. Banneroth, no real use outside of quest stuff. Just what it is. Smite, useless. Nizao, I haven't really found a use for the Celestials really much outside of Yu'lon and Chi-Chi. And I use Chi-Chi a lot more, or Chi-Chi, just because she goes so well with the fire comp itself. I think she's... I use her more than Rag, because I already have Rag maxed, so there's not much point in using them. If you use all three for the serious fire comp, it's pretty spectacular, but... So yeah, the Celestials, I haven't found a whole lot of use for them, the Celestial critters here. So, it's up in the air. Maybe if, like, big beefy taunts come more in vogue, that'd be something better, but I don't use him really anywhere right now. And I want to. Actually, I think I just got a new portrait for him, too. Let's see. Is that one actually better than his ultimate? We'll try it for a while. It looks a little more interesting with his mantid all around him, so... Rag, I used to use him constantly, but it's definitely waned since I got Chi-Chi, because I think Chi-Chi does most of what he does better, because I'm just usually speedrunning over and over, like Heroic 1-2, so Rag is good at that too, but you don't really need him, because once you have Chi-Chi and Baron getting, you fly through everything anyway, but Rag is good, and a lot of people don't know is that his passive... the other characters double dip into that. So yeah, that plus 3 fire damage isn't just for him. It affects the whole squad that he's on, so that makes Baron Ged do even more damage. So with that, compare and couple up with Die Insect, yeah, you can do big damage to stuff. He's a good character, pretty squishy, but he's good. So if you can get a hold of him, great, but don't sweat it, because there's some other fire people that can take his place, but he's like the coolest characters of the Elementals tool, so you want Ragnaros, but... And see, I don't have any good portraits on him. I got, like, legendary portraits on the other ones, but nothing good on Rag. But anyways, enough whining about him. Sneed, absolutely useless. Lich King is basically useless unless you have, like, some frost stuff you need to get done. Death Coil is a really good ability, but there's no real use. I don't have a use for him in PvE right now. Maybe if they ever do, like, an undead thing or something like that, but just the human tag is not enough for him. Thrall is a really good plug-and-play character in a lot of cases, especially potent on a orc team. I like Ring of Strength. But yeah, he's definitely worthy of maxing. Oh, look, I can't max him yet because I got 2 to do. But good character. The interesting thing about him is you don't really have to max everything for him to work well except for Ring of Strength. And then, of course, if you want to go like a melee build, Doomhammer is really good too. Because most of the other stuff's not too important to do. His damage is almost secondary for what he's doing for damage mitigation. But it's not something to be ignored. But he's just a good plug-and-play character for the most part, and pretty essential on an orc team, in my opinion. I'm not going to talk about Tide Mistress, because I haven't worked on her yet. Trigor, I know, is a beast in PvE, or, excuse me, PvP, but I really don't use him anywhere in PvE right now. But he's a pretty amazing character elsewhere, so there's worse things to do work on him, but I don't use him anywhere in PvE. I haven't really found a use for him. Vanessa, I found absolutely no use for in PvE. Outside of specific stuff. Vandar, I just recently got him up to 30. I haven't really found a place for him yet. I have to do some more theory crafting, so I don't know. But I can tell you about Vandar. Varian is a character I really, really, really like in PvE on a human. Especially when you get quests for, do so much damage with humans. This guy can do amazing damage. He's been buffed recently. But unfortunately, his best ability, in my opinion... It depends too much on what the enemy's doing. You need physical attacking enemies. If you have physical attacking enemies versus your team with Varian, oh, Nelly. They're going to take some retribution damage like you wouldn't believe. And I've maxed out anything that has to do with retaliation because that starts ramping like you wouldn't believe, too. And a lot of boss fights have lots of ads. This could just spell the doom for him, because he'll just keep attacking and gaining so much attack and health. I really like this character. I want to find more uses for him. The only thing holding him back is he's not fire comp, right? Or nature. He's just a human tag. So, but he's good. He's like decent, like the holy teams or whatever. But he's got a pretty good kit. I definitely would like to max him out and use him more and find some more instances. So I'd say he's a pretty good character, but not really necessary right now, but just good. Yulon is really good as far as the dragons go, because his kit is really interesting, and it helps give a lot of sustain to the dragon comp, and it actually does pretty big damage. Like J Gust versus Greens, 72 damage on a basic. That's pretty impressive. And he's so slow, he almost always goes last, right? So it's perfect for him. I would like to max this guy out and see what a powerhouse he could be. But yeah, he's a good character, real good character. And he's only a rare, and they got something like unknown, like Naga and stuff like that. They're like epics and legendaries. This guy's only a rare. He's a celestial, whatever. Belinda, more versatile than, she's like a more versatile Jaina, if you ask me. Good on a fire comp if you want to use her. I usually only use 2 characters for a fire comp though, and then add a third usually for quest or whatever's going on. But Belinda's not too bad. Just seems like a straight damage dealer for the most part. But you know, of course, you can summon stuff. But this Wario monster. I know she's pretty good in PvP, but I'd say she's like a better. She's like a mix between Jaina and Anthonitis, but probably a little better than both of them. So not bad. Blademaster is like one of those characters you use a lot when you first start, because she's so powerful with Zyrell. He'll hard carry you for quite a while. But once you get some other characters up there, I think he starts to lose some of his luster. He can be pretty devastating though still, as long as you have someone going faster than he does at first, which is not all that common actually with the orcs. A lot of them are kind of slower. So you might have to mix and match the groups a little bit, but like with him and Rokara's buffs, ooh, those get pretty nasty. So he's definitely a sleeper character when you're newer. You wouldn't expect him to be as strong as he is, but once you get some better characters, Galvanger is so weird, or Galvangar. I don't know, man. He is different. It's a different character. He's straight damage for the most part. I'm not sure how useful it is. I haven't unlocked everything, of course. I don't know. He's not bad. He like I said, he cranks out the damage, but I can't really recommend him over some of the other orcs, at least for the orc comp, and that's the only place he would fit in, really. Diablo is really strong in the right circumstances. You know, I really don't find myself using him in PvE too much, to be honest with you. Fire Stomp is, of course, his bread and butter move, but I know in PvP he's still a monster, and once again, has to do with Fire Stomp, but I don't really use him in PvE anywhere, but he's definitely a good character. Just not, I don't think, a really necessary one for PvE content. Edwin, I don't use him anywhere. Eudora, I'm just still working on her. Pretty bad character, but I will say that if somehow, this only works against computer too, by the way. If you can start cranking out the cannons, she'll do pretty massive damage eventually, but it takes so many turns to get her going. I don't really find her useful anywhere, but I'm still trying to finish her quest lineup, so I've been stuck using her, but not really good, I don't think. Not too much Pirates energy yet, but maybe eventually. Illidan is a good PvE character. I just don't really use him anywhere. I think a lot of other characters just do what he does almost better. But I will say, like, he murders blues like you wouldn't believe, but that's a lot of greens, too. King Crush, I think, does it better than Illidan, but he's not terrible. So getting to Crush on a beast team, oh my goodness, this guy stomps. I really like him with Lady Anacondra because she can actually buff his health, which is a little bit on the low side. But he murders stuff. He doesn't care about taunts. Yeah, he's a wrecking crew. And a lot of times, I notice on teams with him, he'll wind up getting the treasures that allow for like Wind Fury. Oh dear, and it boosts his attack as well. Boosts the attack of Beast. Yeah, he's a killing machine under certain circumstances. So he can hard carry like whole runs. Especially if you team up with Mukla with the I think it's his Mukla's third ability, which makes the Beast attack. It gives him attack and immune while attacking. And if he starts getting death blows, he just chains, and it's pretty crazy. So Crush is good solid character. You just need some healing with him. Anacondra is sleeper good. I kind of slept on her a lot growing up, I use her all the time. Her kit is so versatile, and Men Beast with Signet of the Wilds is monstrous, especially if you're healing a beast. So that's why she pairs so well with like the Mukla and Crush team, because she's not only healing them and giving them health. So it's like she's healing them for 15 and giving them plus 15 health on top of it. She's also healing herself for 15 every time. So a lot of times, like turn 1, you just use her basic, and then the rest of the fight you're just using Men Beast. And you can start cranking up the damage. It's fun too, especially on some quest. If you need to like beast to do big damage or whatever, you can start cranking up the Nightmare Viper's attack to astronomical levels. You know, in 3 hits, you know, up to what, 60 attack. So it's pretty impressive what she can do. I like this character a lot. She's good all around, and definitely recommending character for new players to work on. I haven't really found a use for Leroy anywhere. Did some questing with him, but not a ton of it. So I don't really have any experience with him. Murkai, I haven't really used him in Murloc teams. I know he's pretty good, but really the Murlocs I have do everything I need him to do. So I guess he's okay, but I haven't really used him a whole terrible lot. Mutanus is awesome. Probably the best tank in the game, to be honest with you. And what makes him awesome, of course, is his Scaly Taunt. His Scaly Taunt, coupled up with Iridescent Necklace, makes him the beefiest, strongest tank in the game pretty easily. And there's no cooldown. You just keep using it. Awesome tank. Don't run a Murloc team without him. He's almost really good as a standalone. He just works a lot better with other Murlocs to help him heal. If he can get something healing him, he's a wall that's very difficult for especially any like attacking characters to get around. So he's a really good character, actually. Nefarian is not really that good. Some of the best art in the game, but and I used him a lot for getting his quest down and some other dragons. But yeah, I don't really see a ton of use for him, to be honest with you. Old Murkai is also, I think he's really good. I like him a lot in the Murloc comps. And I like running him, Borgle, actually, and Mutanus. I think that's an awesome pair, and they're really durable with him summoning all these other things and big damage. I do like Old Murkai. Not totally necessary, but I think he's a good character. Authorian is basically useless, nothing to do for him. Rexar, I don't use him anywhere outside of certain quests. So I don't think much of those characters either. Once again, this is all about PvE. Rokara is awesome on a... I hate the character, but she's really awesome on an Orc comp. Offensive Rally is amazing. Orc Onslaught can do some really big damage if you have an Orc Summoner of some kind. Which, the next Orc I think I talk about, Varrock, whatever, has some summons and all that. So they can do some really big damage. This character can spiral your team pretty well. Offensive Rally being maxed everywhere is just amazing. That's why I like to run her, Thrall, and Varrock, because using Thrall's third ability will actually make Rokara attack on the turn she uses Offensive Rally if you have her all the way to the left, right? So even she gets the buff onto what she normally wouldn't get. It's awesome, and it's such big stats on a low cooldown move. So she's a good character, but only on an Orc squad. She's not really that useful other places. Scabs, I don't have a use for him. He's not bad. Pretty decent damage dealer, actually, but I just don't have a use for him in PvE, really. Sinestra is a tank. Let's just put it as it is. Twilight Extinction is pretty disgusting. She's hard to kill. She really is hard to kill, and good. So, probably one of the top 3 dragons in the game. And one of the better like standalone characters, actually, as far as getting PvE content done, because she's so tanky. Sylvanas, I don't have a use for her in PvE. She's not bad, but just other characters do it better, you know. Tavish, don't use them anywhere. Tyrion I use sporadically, like in a holy comp for one, or if I need to get a lot of quests done because of Divine Shield. But honestly, don't use him a terrible lot outside of that. But he's not bad. He's just kind of, his cooldown's just like a turn or two too long. Or at least a turn too long on Blessing of Kings, because it's maybe his best move. And this is, everything he does is good, but it's like, this one's just a little too long a cooldown, I think, and it hurts. Tyrande, I just recently maxed her. I don't really have a use for her anywhere. She can do okay, damage and all that, but she doesn't really bring much else to the team. Valeera is a PvP goddess, of course, but I don't really have a use for her in PvE. I haven't felt the need for her, but I could work her in. I just like other characters better, really. Varrock, I think, is really good, but only on an orc team. I think his best move is actually his basic, his first move. But yeah, so you can start really ramping an orc team up with characters like him and Rokara. So good character, but only if you plan on running orcs, which they're actually really good at PvE content. They have a lot of sustain. Foon, I don't really have a use for him anywhere. Once again, he's a quest thing. Oh, that's right, I have a new... Oh, I got a better portrait for him now, right? So yeah, Voon I have no real use for. I do like his summon, though, Evasive Worm. Wrathion, I haven't really found a use for him. I recently did a lot of questing to get him, like... Well, I did all of his quests now. And nothing he does seems all that amazing, but he can gain a ton of health. If you can somehow use him to damage quite a bit before you hit true form, yeah, you can get like 150 health eventually, but I haven't really found any use for him, really. Zune, haven't found any use for, outside the quest I had to do for him. All right, getting to the last batch of this here. I know this is getting to be a bit long. Anduin's really good character for a lot of different stuff. Kind of an integral piece of the holy comp, and he just a sustain machine, right? Does some decent damage on top of that too. So good character, really good character. Anthonitis is I used him a lot originally on the fire comp, but he's not really needed. If you don't have Chi-Chi though, or maybe Belinda, or even Jaina, you can do pretty well as your setup for Baron Geddon's combo piece, just because Fireball 4 is faster than, I think, Speed 6 of Baron Geddon's second move. So he's useful for that, but he's just straight damage, doesn't really bring anything else to the thing, so not all that great. Geddon. Max this guy out, or at least max out Inferno. You're going to max him out just incidentally anyway, because you can use him so much. Marker of Conflagration and Inferno, coupled with someone who can proc this first. So that's most of the fire casters. Basics will go before this move. Monster damage is basically the fastest way to get lower level quests done. Now, in upper level stuff, the fire comp is very, very squishy and can get wrecked if you're not careful. So I wouldn't, don't just lean on them to get you through the harder content. This is more for farming and things, and that's where Geddon excels. Is probably the best in the game at it. So don't sleep on Baron Geddon. He's awesome. Pair him with Rag or another caster, and you got the recipe for making some good bacon bits. Bleak Fox I only ever really use for quests, so I don't find him that useful. Cool kit, but I just don't find him that useful anywhere, really. Brightwing is pretty decent on Dragon Comp, actually. A lot of healing there, but I don't use him or her, whatever that thing is, that often. But not a bad kit. It's a little bit wonky at times. And it's pure support, but okay. Brukan, don't play the nature comp without him. Big damage. He's the... he's not even the biggest damage dealer, honestly. Guff is, for me, the biggest damage dealer on nature, but he's a good character in nature comp. You won't use him too much outside of that. But he's just basically pure damage, and he does that pretty well, and he can ramp up pretty big, especially depending on your treasures. Chi-Chi is really awesome. On-domain heals at any time, and everything it does has a fire component, which is nice, and every one of these abilities goes before Baron Geddon, so he is like the perfect complement to the fire comp. And I think should definitely be at least one of the two that should always be on the team. But everything he does is just good and has to do with healing and fire some way. So great comp, or great character, and it gives the fire comp a little bit of legs, what it sorely needs. I just need to work on characters some more. Great character. Cookie is probably the most important character in this game, bar none. Just the fact that you can cheese out so many of the more ridiculous quests that are asked of you, like killing 75 beasts or whatever like that, things like that. He makes it so much easier. Just don't do like I do. Do not work on his final or his Go Fish ability. Just leave it at like 1 or 2, because then he starts summoning Swordfish, which blows up that part of the board a little bit, and it ruins so many things. So he's a great character. Just don't work on Go Fish. But yeah, without him, so many quests would be nigh impossible. Use him, use him, use him. Plus, Appetizers is a really good passive for teams. He's still using PvP everywhere just because of the +9 health. So, great character, use him. I mean, I don't use him usually outside of questing that much, but you just got, trust me, you need this guy. I did a whole video on him a while back. Drakthar is another weird one. He's a lot like Gallagher. I can't figure out where to put this guy because the Orc comp doesn't really need him. Maybe on the back line or something. But I've never even seen some of his other stuff going off, like the Shamanism. So, I don't know. He can cause big damage, but I don't know. He seems like he's a little too slow. He ramps up a little too slow, I think, to be all that useful. I haven't found a use for him. Let me know if you have gotten use out of him in the past. Guff. Only good on the nature comp, really, but boy, is he, like, him and Malfurion, man. Oh, what a team. Malfurion's, I think the first two of Malfurion's abilities go before Living Brambles. And when you start comboing this thing on reds, 28 times 2. I mean, this guy does big damage. You almost never use anything else, but it's nice to have the Iron Bark on command, the Taunt on command, and sometimes Runic Flame has its place, not too often, but you're more often not going to be wanting Living Brambles max along with Earth or Bramble Thorn Totem, and he brings the pain single target. Don't leave it home without it, and don't forget, all of his abilities in nature too, so they proc Malfurion's Life Root Staff, so amazing, good character to use at first, especially. Gul'dan, haven't really found a use for him, though I could see him maybe being on an Orc comp, because Siphon Life is a really good ability. Too bad it's on a cooldown like it is, but it is what it is. So he can do some pretty good damage, like, I mean, 20 just on his basic alone is not too bad, and so doing 40 on a red is really good with the caster character, but I just really haven't found that big a use for him. Jaina, I haven't really found any use for her outside of questing. She's good. I mean, she's a good caster and all that, but yeah, I'd rather have Loklar and Varden on a Frost team. You can make her a third if you like. So she's not a bad plug and play, but I don't really find a use for her. Not really. Kazakus, not either. I know he's a PvP guy, but that's supposed to be because of how he rides up with Trigor right now. But I don't have a use for him in PvE yet. But it is what it is. Vol'jin is really awesome with dragons, and he can make he can make going against you so annoying because of Among the Stars, swapping things around. And the computer can't play around him very well at all. He can do really big damage with Celestial Breath, so good character. Definitely put him on every dragon comp. Milhouse is just damage. But I tell you, he's not bad if you max out like Arcane Explosion. If you basically want to max out all the stuff, that's all he does is damage. So, and he is versatile with his equipment at least. You can kind of pick and choose what you like for your playstyle. So not a bad character if you want to go in there and clear stuff out fast, because Arcane Explosion is always off cooldown. So yeah, just it's not bad, and it really ramps up big with using Arcane Bolt or two, and then especially if you get any treasures that amp up arcane damage. Yeah, he can do some pretty big damage. So actually a pretty good character, just kind of squishy. And Arcane's not really a big thing right now. So Morgul, I think he's excellent on a Murloc comp, but outside of that, not too good. And he is probably the most replaceable on the Murloc comp, and you probably place Murky or somebody else on there. But I like the character. I think he's kind of underrated. So yeah, I dig on him, but don't worry about him too much. Natalie, I just use her for like Shadow comp quest. But pretty good, versatile. You probably want to have her on the Shadow comp for sure, because there's not a whole lot of Shadow characters right now. So not bad, but I don't really use her outside of questing. Nizas I haven't really used too much. He seems a little bit clunky, but I think he's needing some other old goddess energy, so we'll wait on that one. I can't tell you on Nizas. Onyxia, it's like kind of like the other ones, kind of like Wrathion. Cool character. I love Onyxia in the lore, but I don't really find much use for her, in all honesty, in PvE content, unless you just want all dragon stuff. So Velen's good, especially on a holy comp. You almost have to have him on a holy comp. Well, I mean, you do. You don't run him without him, but I mean, it's like the holy comp really doesn't work too well without him. Just a good character, solid. He's kind of tanky because of all the healing he does. And he can blast big damage with cheesing Velen's blessings. But, so yeah, good character. I don't use Sky Mirage or anywhere. Though I do love her artwork. See, I unlocked her legendary portrait ages ago, but I much prefer this initial one. And it's cool. I got her animated background now. So, but yeah, I don't find any use for her in PvE content. Tamsin is actually decent, and I would say definitely a necessity on a shadow comp, because a lot of what she does works so well. I wouldn't worry about the Void Consumer too much, but her other two abilities are really good. So not a bad character for shadow comp only, though. You don't really need her for much else. Uther, haven't really found a place for him. Just other holy characters do it better. And other humans. I much rather have Varian in there, and he's not even holy. So, Varden is a sleeper good character. I really did not talk well about her when I first started playing this game. Him, her, whatever this androgynous thing is. Did not talk well about it when I first started playing, but really Flurry is awesome. If nothing else, it makes your Frost quest go really fast, and it can do some pretty big damage. But if you get a group of reds over there, this thing racks up the damage. So, good character. I know Varden's still very popular in PvP. Vol'jin, I don't really use a Shadow Comp that often, but he's kind of an integral part of it. Shadow Comp to me is like a lesser Fire Comp. It just takes longer to set up, it's harder to set up, and there's a cooldown, and the Fire Comp doesn't have it. Probably a more versatile kit though than some of the like Geddon. Like the closest thing I can think of is this guy is Geddon. He's like the Shadow Geddon, right? But Geddon just does it better. So your mileage may vary. He's probably better in PvP though. Zyrell is really good. It's a good starter merc, and there's no real reason not to use her. She's until you start getting some more powerful stuff later on, and you don't need the healing as much. You can lean on her so much. Her basic is freaking amazing. It's so good. It does double duty, because it's like not only is it damaging, it's also keeping you from being damaged. So it's basically got a heal built into it. She got heal on command. Atonement can rack up. You don't really use that too often. Her first two abilities are really good. So yeah, definitely keep with her. And yeah, that's it for now. So I'll go over some team comps more in the future, but I just wanted to talk a little more about my current thoughts on the characters that I have maxed or at least been playing for a little while. And yeah, so until next time, this is Genome.